I was thinking about the topic today, and all of a sudden there was this image, and I trust you'll go with me on it. Imagine, if you would, just for a moment, that somehow, I don't know that it's too far away, but somehow there's been this artificial intelligence that's been created. It's a little box, right? It's sitting over in your corner. And this artificial intelligence actually knows the answer to everything. So it's over there, and all you have to do is ask it anything, and it has the answer. You can also say, well, these are the ingredients of food and spices and oils and things that I happen to have on my person right now in my house, and what could I make with this? And this artificial intelligence pops out numerous of recipes, and you get to choose what you want to cook, right? This artificial intelligence, you could put into it or tell it any kind of symptoms, no matter how many is going on in the physical body, and you say what the symptoms are, and it absolutely knows what the dis-ease is. It knows it, and it tells you absolutely how to get rid of it. And we could go on and on and on, right? But every now and then, it's sitting in your corner, and it stays in the corner, and all it wants to be is utilized to its fullest capacity. And every now and then you walk over and go, hey, artificial intelligence, what's the weather like today? Oh, thank you, I know to wear a coat. And that's about it. It sits over there in the corner, and all it wants to be is utilized to its fullest extent. And every now and then you use it. Now, given it's artificial, do you think that there's something within it that's like shouting out like, hey, I'm over here, use me? It doesn't want to be ignored. When you give it something and it knows the answer, it doesn't want to be doubted. It just is waiting, and it's 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 waiting. And it only wants to be let loose. It only wants to be lit up. It only wants to be utilized. Well, all month we're talking about fanning this flame of love. And this morning we're exploring this concept called the Divine Spark. This thing called the Divine Spark. It's in many of our faith traditions. It dates way back. It's in the Upanishads. So this thing called the Divine Spark. And Ernest Holmes tells us, he begins to open up what this thing is. And he says that all the power and all the intelligence of the universe is already within. And it is waiting. It is waiting. It is waiting. It is waiting to be utilized. And he says that the divine spark must be fanned into a blaze of the living fire of your own divinity. So it's waiting, and it needs to be fanned. So like we get a spark in a fireplace, and we have a spark, and what do? Remember the bellows? Anybody have the bellows still? I grew up, my grandparents had them. Okay, the bellows have gone by the wayside, obviously. Dyson's going to come up with a new, I don't know. But when we fan this flame, what happens? It grows. It absolutely grows. So we can fan the flame. We can utilize this thing called the divine spark by absolutely knowing the truth of life itself and our relationship to it. And shall I say, our relationship as it. Ernest Holmes tells us that we live because life lives within each of us. We move because there is a universal energy flowing through each of us. We think because there is an infinite intelligence thinking as each of us. He tells us that we exist because of the divine spark has sought to individualize itself in and as you. So that is why we exist, for this divine spark to be individualized in each of us and to be individualized as each of us. And he calls this that we are each called the temple of the living God. The temple of the living God. Now that's some biblical stuff for us. But imagine that we are the temple of the living God. That means we do not have to go to a house of worship. That means that we do not have to go to the mountaintop. That means that we actually don't have to come to even this spiritual community, though we love that you do. But we don't have to go to a house of worship because when we know our connection to this thing called life itself, this universal presence, this love, then we realize that we each are the temple. And that temple moves everywhere that we go. We don't have to go to the temple. It is us. We are this living temple. We are the house of God. So we don't have to go to one. And we don't have to go anywhere to find it. We don't have to go anywhere to search for it. We don't have to go anywhere to connect to it. We already are it, therefore we can be it. There is a divine spark at the center of your being. There's a divine spark at the center of your being. Take that in for yourself. I invite you to say, there is a divine spark at the center of my being.
There is a divine spark at the center of my being.
Now fan it a little bit with some belief and say that again. There is a divine spark at the center of my being. Yes, this spark which burns at the center of our own soul is caught from this living and eternal flame of spirit, Ernest Holmes tells us. And so it is, as we fan it and what we truly know, that it turns into this blaze of this living fire. And the way that we do this is first we have to recognize that this is true, that there is a divine spark within us, and to recognize this. We also need to believe it and to not have doubt about it. No matter what happens in our life, what comes up in our life, to absolutely believe it. And then we have to act from that place of belief. So as we recognize that life is this impartation of spirit in us, it's the source of everything that we each are. It is this universal quality that's shared alike by every single animated thing. This divine spark. Ernest Holmes tells us that we trust that humans reach its highest potential of the degree of expression within each of us. We trust that it's reaching its highest expression as us. Then everything in this universe lives only because it has a divine spark that's incarnated in it. So the mere fact that we're living and we're breathing proves, per Ernest Holmes, that it is incarnated in us. It is alive in us. It is us. It is who we are. And that spark never goes out. It's what makes the grass grow. What makes the birds sing. It's what makes the dancer dance. What makes the singer song come out. It's what makes the heart of a teacher appear. It's in everything. That's why we say God is all there is. It means that all that is God occupied, God personalized, and God individualized as each of us. Okay, that's pretty heavy, isn't it? Or is it just me? And that gives me like moments of awe. That this thing, which I can't even begin to comprehend, is occupied as me. It's personalized as me. It's individualized as me. And it's only expression in all of the entire cosmos as me. And as you. So, when we sit with this, when we contemplate this, when we recognize this, and when we begin to believe this and to know this, does anything need to be added unto you?
No.
Do you believe you're lacking anything within you to do anything that you desire, anything that you want, anything that you can perceive of? I like the participation. So what gets in the way?
Lack of belief.
Because it gets in the way for me a lot. Yes. So to set this living eternal flame ablaze, we've got to recognize it, believe in it, and act upon it. I found something that I've never seen before that Ernest Holmes wrote. I don't know that it's in a book. It's in a little Word document. I was gifted a lot of Word documents by someone doing some transcribing for the Science of Mind archives. And I came across this, and he shares something with us. It's like a story. Let's be ye like little children and take this in. Can we imagine a fish being told that she is surrounded by water, but not quite realizing what this means? Can we imagine such a fish swimming north, south, east, and west in search of water? If we think of this fish as a person, can we imagine her looking up the books of fish lore, studying fish psychology and philosophy, always endeavoring to discover just where the waters of life are and how to approach them? Perhaps some wise old fish might say, it has come down to us through the tradition that in ancient times our ancestors knew about a wonderful ocean of life. They prophesied a day when all shall live in the waters of life happily ever after. And can't we imagine all the other fish getting together and rolling their eyes, wiggling their tails, looking wise and mysterious and beginning to chant, "Oh, water, 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 we beseech you to reveal yourself to us. We beseech you to flow around and through us, even as you did in the days of our revered ancestors." As a matter of fact, we are in the water of infinite life as the fish is in the ocean. The spirit of life is all around us, he tells us. It flows through us. It permeates everything. It is the essence of all form and flows through every condition. And yet, we are still looking for it. We are still looking for it. And yet, what we look for, we unwittingly look at, but we fail to recognize it. Now, when we put it in the perspective of the fish, swimming around in this oceanic divine substance, we suppose that fish truly don't know they're in water. Maybe they do. They too have the divine spark in them. But the fish are just searching for this water, or they don't even know that they're in the water. And it's everywhere. So other than, okay, I know that you can catch a fish, Joe, and it can come out of the water. But other than that, can this fish ever leave the water? No. Everywhere the fish goes, there it is. The living temple. Everywhere it swims, there it is. What is the vast makeup of a fish, too? What's the vast makeup of us?
Water.
Can we ever get out of the water? Is this divine oceanic substance everywhere? Is it within us?
Yep.
That's the divine spark. It's everywhere present. We can't. And so there is a divine spark that is in everyone. And I'm speaking to the subconscious within you right now. This must include you. You're not left out. So this divine spark manifests within us as an urge. Have you ever felt an urge?
Yes.
An urge. Have you ever felt like this push, like from the, almost from the inside of you, there's this push, this push, and how about in front? There seems to be this pull, this irresistible pull. It's immutable, it's absolute, it just keeps pulling you. That's the divine spark, and it's saying, utilize me. Don't leave me in the corner. Utilize me. Utilize me. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. Utilize me. Utilize me. Utilize me. That's the urge. That's the push. That's the pull. Utilize me. All the power and all the intelligence of the universe within you is saying, utilize me. Utilize me. So what gets in the way? What gets in the way? Doubt. Fear.
Unworthiness.
Unworthiness. We had one earlier.
Lack of faith.
Lack of faith. Lack of belief. What gets in the way? Does nothing get in your way? What gets in your way?
Fear of being different.
Fear of being different.
Ego.
Ego.
Fear of failing.
Fear of failure.
Fear of succeeding.
The fear of succeeding.
Fear of not enough.
Fear of not enough. Well, the fear, that's sort of running, isn't it? We hear fear of, fear of, fear of. Also, how about not enough? The not enoughness, not enough experience, not enough education, not enough money, not enough, right? I'm not enough. How about past experiences? Well, it didn't work then, and I got my heart broken. Anything, right? What gets in your way?
Inertia.
Oh, inertia. Outside influences. Y'all hit them all on outside influences. And so these things douse the fire, the flame. It can't go out, but it starts to douse it. Sometimes, and I know you don't do this, there's this impression that someone that's been teaching the science of mind for a while doesn't have any of these things. I have these things all the time. There's not a day in my life that doesn't go by where these things don't come up and try to get in the way. Not a day. And this divine spark keeps going, utilize me, utilize me, utilize me. And I'm like, Anya. And so the spiritual practice for us each to take up in our own lives is when that voice, those voices, that fear, that unworthiness, that doubt, that lack of belief, whatever they are, come up, we must meet them with the spiritual truth. I have the divine spark within me. I have infinite intelligence. I have absolute wisdom. I have the one mind that knows everything, all that is. Whatever it is, we have to meet it with the spiritual truth and be vigilant so that doesn't grow and we ignite the divine spark that is urging us to let all of our light out, to let all of ourselves out. Recently, I've been massively bombarded with it. I've had lots of down moments because of it. And I still have to be vigilant. So how do you stay vigilant in ensuring that these voices, whatever it is, because it's not the truth, doesn't take hold and doesn't grow, that we douse that and let what is the truth of who we are as a divine ignite. Because this divine spark won't give up. It never goes out. It wants to be set ablaze. And as we do our spiritual practice over the next week, let's just say every time this comes up, starting right now, every time we create a pattern, we ignite it. We say, no, this is the truth of who I am. So the next conversation you have, you feel bad. It says, see, I told you that wouldn't go right, or whatever is coming up. No, that's not the truth of who I am. I am the living temple of God, of life itself. I am the fish in the water, and everywhere I go, there's the water. Whatever it takes for us to do that, to ignite this, because incarnated within you is this divine spark, an incarnation of the living spirit of the entire cosmos. And it is a unique, the only one presentation of the cosmic whole. And so, as we believe this, as we act from this place, because today we've recognized it, it's up to each of us to believe it, that we are God-occupied, we are God-personalized, we are God-individualized. Then Ernest Holmes tells us we have nothing to disprove and everything to prove that this individualization of the Spirit in each of us, rooted in a common soil, having the characteristics and potentiality of its common background, contains what the ancients called the microcosm. The entire ocean, as Sandra said, is in this drop. The divine spark, that flame, that eternal flame, cannot go out. And it is waiting, it is waiting, it is waiting to be unleashed, set ablaze, fully utilized. And we each are the only ones that can do it. So no matter what has occurred in your life up to this moment, no matter how you've utilized it, no matter how you've let it go, take it up. Every day, don't let those fears, those doubts, unworthiness, someone outside of us, any situation, any circumstance, no matter what it is, make us believe what isn't true about us. That we are the divine spark. We are the flame of life itself, and it's time to fan it, because goodness knows we are those million voices ready to be heard. And so it is. So I invite Scott to come up, and let's do a treatment to put an exclamation point on this. We go within and recognize. Absolutely recognize this one love, this one life, this one infinite expression, this eternal flame that always has been, that has no limits. This universal presence that unabashedly gives to itself so fully and so freely that all of life expresses as it. From the blades of grass, to the singing of the birds, to the heart of the teacher, to the song of the singer, to the mother, to the father, to the brother, to the sister. All of it is an individualized expression of this one thing. And so in recognition of it, I absolutely know that I am that I am. I am this divine spark. And as it is true of me, I know it is true of every single person within the sound of this voice. And what I know to be true and declare and claim is that this spark is ignited. It is ignited in its wholeness. It is ignited in its peace. It is ignited in its love. That we're fanning the flames of love. That our light is lit. It's not hidden under a bushel. We allow it to be unleashed. And anything within us and anything without that attempts to tell us otherwise, we don't listen. For we are that individualized expression of the magnificent one that has infinite wisdom. All of the abundance of the universe is within us, waiting to be unleashed. All of the creativity, all of the ideas, all of the expressions, all of the love, all of the peace, all of the cells of our bodies are firing at their highest potentialities so that we are the living, breathing temple and body of God and life itself. And we celebrate this. We claim it. We believe it. For I know this is so. And actually, that's all that matters. And so it's in this full faith and trust that I release these words unto the universal law, knowing that the law does its thing. And so I let it go. I let it loose. I let it be. And so it is.